Alright, so this is a little weird. Normally, when I review something, it's either a movie, a season of a TV show, but as it says in the description, I'm going to be reviewing the Modern Family episode that aired last Wednesday. That is the final Thanksgiving episode. So, I'm just gonna say this: if you haven't watched Modern Family in a while and you haven't been following the last two seasons, you can go and Wikipedia that and then come back to see me do the review. So the plot line is the final Thanksgiving for the series. Haley is trying to find some way to say thank you to her mom and dad for helping her, raise her kids and helping her through the pregnancy and all the all that. And so she has decided to enlist the help of Alex, Luke, and I don't know why she didn't ask Dylan for help on this, but she wants to, you know, make a Thanksgiving feast, as kind of her, thank you, you know? And there's a few other stories going on with Claire still adjusting to having quit her job recently, Phil and Jay sorting out some of the fatherly feelings they have for their kids. And Alex, well, we'll get to that in a minute. It's going to be hard to review this episode because usually when I talk about this show, I like to reference a lot of funny bits. But I feel like for those of you who've seen the episode, you know what parts I'm talking about. For those of you who haven't seen the episode, I told you already to, go and look this stuff up before watching my review. So it's going to be really hard. I'm not really good at describing funny bits, so I'm going to try my best. But there is one really good, clever... The one thing that I think is really clever about this episode is it's a callback to, I think it's the second episode of the series where Jay and Phil are flying that biplane, and Jay smacks Phil in the face because he's still mad at him for dating his daughter, and eventually dating, marrying, and then giving him 3 grandkids. How dare you! Anyway, but yeah, Jay always kind of saw Phil as this idiotic goof. Anyways, so there is kind of a funny bit where Phil realizes that Jay hit him on purpose, which I kind of felt that was weird because I felt like that was something that was made clear to all the characters. And it is funny how Phil is still kind of having an issue with letting go of Haley being a little girl because she's married, she's a mom. So a part of him kind of wants to hit Dylan with the plane. And the funny thing is that when he's talking with Jay about that incident, he's like, "No, I would." He goes on this huge speech about how he would never hit Dylan, and then he gets angry at Jay for admitting to what happened in the second episode, and Phil gets so distracted that he gets hit by the biplane himself, which does lead into a funny ending where he uses a plane to smack the asshole boyfriend in front of Alex because that boyfriend was just being too rude to her. And controlling and domineering, because that's one of the subplots in this episode is that Alex has a boyfriend who's a cook but is also kind of domineering. So aside from the clever callback to an earlier episode in one of the first episodes that aired, I do think it is kind of it. I feel like what makes this episode work best is that, like most Modern Family episodes, everyone gets their moment to shine. It's not like one of those episodes where it focuses on one of the families. It's kind of how Seinfeld would incorporate or multiple storylines throughout the episode, and then would have a callback to a much earlier episode. So I thought that was a really clever way to fit that into the narrative. And with Claire's story, it is kind of funny seeing her doing a lot of housework around the house because they're having Thanksgiving at Jay's. It's really funny that seeing her kind of become a workaholic again. And it is funny when they do the reveal that Gloria was kind of tricking her into doing the housework for her since she's been so busy since Gloria's been so busy working. I think that was kind of funny. There's a lot of good jokes in here. Um, I think it's a really good holiday special, and I would say that my major complaint with this series, at least with this season, is that it doesn't it felt like the main story arc of the season would be Haley adjusting to being a mom, and they do address that, but it feels like they kind of ignored that partway through the season, and now it doesn't seem like now the season seems like it's just a myriad of episodic issues that, while funny, don't really add a lot to the main narrative or anything to the show. And I mean, maybe there is going to be a main story. We are halfway through the season, so maybe they'll go back to the new mom thing that they were going with. But it was interesting. It was kind of interesting how they go with a main story, but then they kind of drop that for a bit. But I'm getting sidetracked. But I honestly think that the payoff of Phil getting to smack someone that was upsetting one of his daughters, I think that was kind of nice. I'm trying to think of what else to say. There really isn't much to say. It's kind of hard to get a lot of material out of an episode that's only 30 minutes long with the commercials and probably 23 minutes long when the commercials are out of the equation. But aside from the funny parts and some of the interesting callbacks, there's really not a whole lot to say about this episode that's really noteworthy. And Modern Family has been on for like 11 years now, so I feel like that this episode was just, I don't know. I really don't know what else to say. This is probably the shortest review I've done in a while, but all in all, I love I love the episode. Really funny. I just kind of hope that this doesn't distract. I just kind of hope Modern Family goes back to a more story arc driven way of doing things instead of doing all these one and done episodes. But I feel like this season is pretty good. It is going to be a little depressing to see Modern Family go, but I feel like I've talked more about the show than the actual episode. And I also feel like this video is more of a vlog. I'm just going to stop rambling. All I can say is that the next review will be a little more focused since I'm seeing the new Tom Hanks movie this weekend. So that'll be my review next week. And my Bruce Springsteen cover of Open All Night is this Monday. So